Hello, and welcome back to the True Crime Lounge podcast, where we talk murder and other forms of crime. I do have a YouTube channel that you can go check out. I also have a Patreon that you can join, and you will receive early access to episodes and miniseries and any scheduled episodes set to come out. I also have a merch shop that you can go and check out as well. And let's dive into today's episode, shall we? Oh, I forgot to tell you. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Today we're going to be continuing on with our Christmas murder series, and today we're going to be talking about the case of Jimmy C. Wingo. This is the second episode of our mini-series. It is pre-recorded and will be out the week of Christmas and December 21st, I believe. But if you're a Patreon supporter, you're watching it now. So this mini-series proves that murder takes no break. I did a Thanksgiving one that shows murder takes no break as well. And Wingo is a murderer with at least one known victim on December 25th, 1982. His criminology includes Newton Brown, who was 55, and his wife, Eurine Neely Brown, 51, with his methodology being shooting. And as of June 16, 1987, he was executed by electrocution in Louisiana. I have a friend of mine from Louisiana. But Jimmy Wingo were convicted of shooting the death of Newton and Ernie while burglarizing their Dixie Inn home on Christmas Day 1982. Glass and Wingo escaped from the Webster Parish Jail the day before, and Glass claimed that Wingo forced him at gunpoint to kill the Browns, and Glass was executed June 12, 1987. Wingo's story was the one that was not even present when Glass killed the Browns. His final statement was, "I am an innocent man. You are murdering me, and I do love you all in Christ. God bless you all." Would the federal district court deny his petition for habeas corpus, they would grant a petition for certificate of probable cause, and after consideration of the briefs and oral arguments of the counsel and study of the state record, they affirmed the denial of habeas corpus. On Christmas Eve so here's what happened. On Christmas Eve about 8 o'clock p.m., Wingo escaped from jail in Minden, Louisiana, where he had been confirmed under burglary charges, accompanied by another escapee, Jimmy Glass. He avoided the roads and walked several miles along the railroad tracks into the Brown home. The next day, the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Brown were found in the bed, gagged and bound at their feet and hands. But both had been killed by gunshots, and their house has been ransacked. Entry has been made rough through a broken glass patio door. So at daybreak on Christmas, Wingo arrived at the home of his sister Betty Whittington in Vivian, Louisiana. He had cash, clothing, and weapons and ammunition taken from the Browns' home. The Browns' Lincoln automobile was later found stalled in the high water on the road, which if you've been to Louisiana, you know what it's talking about, right? A quarter of a mile from the Whittington home, accompanied by Glass and Gwen Hill, Wingo's girlfriend. He then drove to Datsun, pick her up into East Texas, and Wingo and Hill was captured in the woods near Atlanta, Texas, on January 5th, 1983. He was apprehended in California, and Wingo and Glass were indicted on 2 counts of first-degree murder. Glass was tried first, convicted on both counts, sentenced to death, and Wingo was also convicted and sentenced to death for both murders. Diligent counsel for Wingo's attacked the constitutionality of the conviction and the death sentence on 10 grounds, and we will address each ground. Wingo would argue that, as in Mun's case, that the presence was participated and intended for the murders of Mr. and Mrs. Brown. It cannot be said that the death penalty is proportional to his conduct. He has cited his opinion in everything. They were both convicted on felony murders, not requiring proof of the defendant shared any culpability in the homicide except for the participated felony that went underway. Wingo, however, was convicted of first-degree murder under the Louisiana law, which requires proof of specific intent to kill or inflict a great bodily harm. The jury was instructed and found that Wingo did have specific intent. The Supreme Court of Louisiana upheld the conviction, and they were right that the jury had ample circumstantial evidence from a reasonable to conclude the defendant was with Glass in the bedroom when where the murder occurred. He escaped with Glass from a nearby jail. Like Glass, he had a more pressing motive to steal money, clothes, transportation, and weapons. He and Glass also appeared together at a relative's home shortly after with the crime of the clothes, gun, and money, with the identical or very similar to the items stolen. During the Browns' home, he and Glass and him made statements that they had robbed a house to secure money and guns. He took a vehicle from the relatives without their consent and continued their flight to Texas. When the defendants found out they were being hunted in connection with the murders, he fled into the woods, where he concealed various items that could be identified with the Browns. Upon their being captured, the defendant had a pair of gloves in his possession which matched the fabric found by the gloves ransacked in the Browns' home, and he made highly incriminating statements. Because Glass refused to testify and the defendant was elected to exercise his constitutional right not to testify, there was no direct evidence of his role in the crimes. Nevertheless, there was a rational juror on this case, and the overall evidence favorable in the prosecution could have concluded beyond a reasonable doubt. So given that the evidence presented, it was certainly reasonable that the jury would conclude the defendant's role was that of equal to his partner. So to what the Louisiana court wrote was added that the jury had every reason to conclude that Ringo was the dominant figure in the twosome, and nothing was done that night without the approval and participation. He was a former policeman, a large man. He initiated a jailbreak because he was denied a visit from Gwen Hill, who was also the mother of his child, when his sister's husband, Frank Whittington, failed to bring her Hill to Vivian to Menden the previous day. Glass was a very small man, only 20 years old. His participation to attack the Brown bedroom is quite clear. Newton Brown was a large and active man, 55. He had a pistol in his closet, a very protected Dalmatian dog when it was in the bedroom. Brown's dog had wounds on the elbow and abrasions in the knuckles. That makes me sick. Look, animals get to me. Children and animals get to me. Never hurt the animal, never hurt the child. The child is innocent. But anyway, my foot's asleep, y'all. After the murders, Ringo remained a dominant figure, and he drove the brown car to Vivian, not the Glass's desired destination. Not the Glass's desired destination. He arrived at his home, announcing that he had gone to kill Frank Whittington, and was dissuaded by Gwen Hill. He left saying that he would not be taken alive, in the understatement of one guilty vicious verdict, but expected posture of mere burglar. Wingo contends that the jury was adequately instructed that, in order to be found guilty, found the defendant guilty, they would have specific intent to kill. There was no record that was a possibility that allowed could have been misunderstood. Wingo would claim that the jury was not told of the entirety of the reject of the death penalty. In their mitigating circumstances, the breadth of the choice explained the jurors. So the trial court enforced a rule requiring the parties requesting submission of special charges to the jury should supply the court with those charges prior to the time of closing argument. Wingo says that the judge did not treat the district attorney and the defense attorneys equally in their respect. He was found no unevenness. The trial court was erroneously charged with the jury and necessary. So, in Wingo's appeal, the Supreme Court of Louisiana reviewed the evidence included that a rational juror could have, beyond reasonable doubt, and the defendant participated in the killing of the victims. The petition for a rehearing was denied, and no member of the panel nor judge regulated active service. So, what do y'all think? That is it for today's episode. I will see y'all next time. Y'all have a Merry Christmas and a great day.